Guys, in this video we're going to have a look at my favourite RC cars, and I'm going to show you what, in my opinion, are their weaknesses. Now, these are just my opinions, and these are just from my own personal experience. You know, this is not from what other people have told me, this is not what I've read on forums, this is from my own experience, from what I have found. So your opinion may differ, and that is cool. But remember, these are just toy cars, and if my opinion offends you, then maybe you need to find a new hobby. So in my opinion, the best RC car is whichever one puts the biggest smile on your face. For me, that's the X-Maxx, and for you that may be something completely different, and that's fine. So I'll see some people, they always try and persuade everybody else that theirs is the best, and then they bully other people if they've got something else. I'm not going to have any of that in my comment section. If I see any bullying going on, you're going to get blocked. So you're entitled to your opinion. But then let the next person, let them be entitled to their opinion too. Enjoy the video. So the cars that we're going to be looking at is this one, 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 that one, that one, and that one. So this here is my all-time favourite RC. This is the one that I've had the most fun with, and the one that I would say is the most durable out of the box, especially if you consider its size. I mean, this thing is massive. I haven't really got anything bad to say about it. I mean, it's got a couple of maybe minor weak spots. I wouldn't even say they're not a weak spot at all. So when we went to Paddlesworth, for example, Martin had a bog standard one. He was jumping it. He must have jumped it 100 times and nothing broke. Most of them are good landings, but there were also a lot of bad landings. Now this one here, I have slightly modified it. I put in a different ESC. Some of the earlier Traxxas ESCs have had a problem of catching fire. I think they've ironed out the problems now. I've put in upgraded gears. But then again, the stock gears, they tend to hold up good anyway. Pat's got the stock gears in his one, and I've also ran stock gears in mine. And, you know, if you land these nice and you're not landing it on the power, you know, if you're going to come landing a jump and you leave the power on, then you're going to bust the gears. But, you know, if you land it nice, you let off the power, standard gears are more than good enough. So the rear knuckles, I mean, they do break sometimes, but, you know, you've got to hit them pretty hard. So I've got the uprated RPM ones on here, but the stock ones, they take a beating anyway. I think Pat's on like his first set, and I was running stock ones for a very long time and not really had any issues. So what I would say is the worst point about these trucks is the centre drive shaft that runs in here. When you really air these things out, the chassis flexes when it lands, and it bends that shaft in the middle, and there's not really anything that you can do about it other than just to leave it and hope that it straightens itself out again on the next one, or I suppose replace it. But all in all, this is my all-time favourite RC car. I like the size, I like the way it handles, I like the ease of maintenance, all the spares are available. I mean, just everything about it. This is, without a doubt, my all-time favourite RC cars. And, you know, if another manufacturer come out with one that brings a bigger smile to my face, then that may well be my new favourite. So next, let's have a look at the Arrma Infraction. So I've only had this thing out once so far, but so far from what I've seen, I cannot fault it. This thing is, so far, absolutely perfect. It handles good, it's fast, it goes around corners well, it smokes the tyres. So far seems reliable, and so far, guys, I can't really fault it. I mean, it looks good. I mean, what more can I say? It's perfect. So next, let's have a look at my Arrma Kraton, which isn't so perfect. And it's pretty much the same as the Outcast up there. The only real difference is that this one is longer. So this one needs the same upgrades as that one needs. So I'm just going to talk about this one here, which is the Kraton, but the same applies to that one there. So, oh boy, guys, this thing needs so many upgrades to make it strong. It is unreal. Once modified, this could be one of the strongest RC cars that you can possibly have. In stock form, forget it, guys. These things, they bend, they fall to bits. I mean, there's so many people out there that say that the Arrma Kratons are the strongest RC cars that you can buy. From my experience, definitely 100% not. Once modified, yes. Stock, no way. And my God, have you got to upgrade a lot. So let's start off from the front. So first of all, you need to upgrade these hinge pin braces. The stock ones, they break very, very easily, especially the back one. I mean, one little bad landing, that's going to snap straight off. Next, we got the arms, and although I wouldn't really call the stock arms a weak point, I mean, they can break, but an arm is a relatively cheap and a relatively easy repair. So although I'm running these RPM arms on this and I have broken some of the stock arms, I mean, I wouldn't really class the arms as a weak spot, so I'm not going to give them any negative points to that. Next weak spot is this bottom shock ball end. I mean, these break relatively often, but then again, it is a cheap repair and it's a relatively easy repair. Next weak spot, we have the front shock tower, same as the rear shock tower. The stock ones, they bend really, really easily. I mean, you fart next to it and they're bent. But, I don't know, it's not overly that bad because you can quite easily straighten them out. It's just when they bend too far, they have a habit of taking out the bulkhead as well. Next weak spot, the diffs. The diffs in these things, the teeth are so small and so fine that they just break relatively easily. And I know you're not supposed to land jumps with the power on, but I've stripped diffs and, you know, not even jumping it. And also I've done in an internal, so diffs on these I would say are another major weakness. Another thing that I don't like is that these screws here, they tend to back out after a while and then you lose them. So then moving down, the stock car comes with plastic braces there, and these almost snap off almost instantly. I don't even know why they bother putting plastic ones on there because they are so weak. The servo, I mean, their servo, guys, it just, for me, it broke in a few runs. Not much torque, not much power, and it almost broke instantly, so I had to upgrade the servos almost straight away. Then next, moving on to the chassis, which is probably the worst part of the whole entire car. So here is the stock chassis, and it was literally one bad landing, and it bent across there and bent across there. And I know I always get people saying, well, if you land it bad, it's going to break. Yes, I hear you, I understand. You know, if you crash a car, it's going to break. But if you're going to call something a basher, it does need to take the odd bad landing. So this thing here, I think second outing, chassis was completely bent. And I've straightened it a few times, put it back on, the thing just keeps bending. And also with the outcast, I've got the stock chassis here. Couple of runs with that was bent too. So, you know, if I compare it to the X-Maxx, I know I shouldn't really compare it because it's a different class of car. This one's a lot bigger, this one's a lot heavier, so this should, in theory, be a lot weaker. But it isn't. Out the box, this thing is so much stronger. And although this has a plastic chassis, I've only broken 2 chassis since I've had an X-Maxx, and I've been having X-Maxxes since this channel started. So for over 3 years now, I've been running Traxxas X-Maxxes. They've had by far the most use than any other RC car that I have, and I've only ever broken 2 chassis. This thing here, this is just, it's just junk. It's complete and utter junk. Arrma, if you're watching, sort it out. I mean, you cannot call it Arrma tough and supply it with something that's made out of such a weak and crappy material like that. Next, moving along the chassis, we have to put on a stronger chassis brace here on the rear, and also the mount here where it bolts onto the rear bulkhead, because it just breaks so easy. Then moving on to the back, I mean, I've broken a couple of these wing mounts, but I wouldn't say that's overly too bad. I mean, they do take a couple of hits before they break. RPM arms again. And that, I think, is pretty much it. So when you look at these things, guys, oh, and this bit here has to be upgraded to aluminium, otherwise that's going to break, and then it's going to take out your bulkheads. I mean, by the time you've upgraded these guys, it's going to end up costing you more money than an X-Maxx. So I'm running a Just Bash It RC chassis on this, and also running the Just Bash It RC shock towers. So yeah, you know, some people said to me, before I had the Arrmas, they said, Kev, get a Kraton. It doesn't matter about not getting spares, you won't break it, they're so strong. I got it, and it broke quicker than almost anything else that I have. I mean, these things in stock form, I know I keep banging on about it, but people keep saying how strong they are. They're really not. They're really not that strong. You probably have to like spend double to get it anywhere near kind of like X-Maxx durability. So next, while we're talking about Arrmas, let's have a look at my Arrma Outcast 4S. So these are the BLX, I think they call them, or whatever. So this is a 4S. And then my buddy Pat, he's got the Granite, which is a similar platform, similar kind of design. This one's got a few different bits on it. So we look at this, it's pretty much all plastic. We've got plastic shafts, plastic shocks. I think even the diff gears are made of plastic. I mean, they've just used plastic absolutely everywhere. And a lot of people complain when they see plastic. They say, oh, plastic is cheap and nasty. But I disagree. A lot of the time, the plastic is more flexible. So when you crash, it can kind of flex, and then it flexes back. So, weak spots on this so far, I would say none. I mean, I've beaten this thing, I've aired it out, I've crashed it. And this is completely stock. I mean, apart from the stock radio and the stock servo, they actually quite suck. Not really anything bad to say about it. They've done a really good job with this. Yes, I've heard people breaking the chassis, but I'd rather break the odd chassis every now and then than just bending it every other jump. So next, let's have a little look at my Traxxas Rustler 4x4. So these are built on the same platform as the Slash 4x4. Now, overall, very tough. It takes a good beating. You can bounce it around things, but the biggest downfall on these are these drive shafts. I mean, they break so easily. I mean, one little fart next to it, it snaps off. So Traxxas, if you're watching, please supply these with a better shaft. I mean, you can upgrade these to the Traxxas metal shafts, but then you just snap the end off. And I know I haven't got the metal shafts on this, so I'm not fully talking from my experience, but I've put those metal shafts onto my Slash, and I've broken them a couple of times on there. And this comes with bigger wheels, so they're going to be breaking off a lot more often. So really, we do need to see some kind of an upgrade for these drive shafts, because this is why I don't use this car. Because every time I take it out, it's almost a guarantee that the drive shafts are going to snap off. Shock-wise, I've not had any troubles with these shocks. I mean, these are plastic shocks on here. But with that said, I did have these same shocks on my Rustler 2-wheel drive, and they've broken quite a lot. So I'm kind of thinking it's only a matter of time when these are going to break. So it probably does need the metal, I think they're called GTR shocks, upgrade soon. So this, with some decent shocks on it and some decent drive shafts, I mean, I would say this is going to be one of the most durable RC cars that you can have. But out of the box, with these shafts, nah. The other thing I don't like, I mean, I like the fact that you can take the body off with one clip here. I mean, that is one thing that I really love on the Traxxas, because it makes it so easy to get the body off. You haven't got to mess about with clips. The only thing is that this thing pops off on the front here really easily. One little bad landing, or even a nice landing, it always pops off. So I've put a screw through here, bit of fuel tubing, so now it's a little bit more fiddly to get it on, but at least it stays on when you're driving. Alright, so next, my Slash. I'm not really going to bother taking off the body, because it's pretty much the exact same as that, just a little bit longer really. But the same with this, it needs the drive shafts upgrading. I've put the metal shafts on this one. I've got the GTR shocks on this, which actually come with this car, because this one's a platinum edition. And I've also got RPM arms and bulkhead on this. And although these are not essential, I was running it stock for, I think, over a year. The RPM parts are definitely stronger, and I've also got RPM shock towers on there. So again, not essential. The stock ones lasted perfectly fine, but after I did eventually break them, then I did upgrade this to the RPM, and now it's a lot stronger. And then the only other mod is the centre drive shaft, because the stock one bends relatively easily. So this is a Techno RC one. So next we have my Traxxas Ultimate, Unlimited, whatever, UDR Desert Racer. And oh my god, what a beast. I mean, you're not really supposed to bash it. It even says in the instructions, don't bash it too hard. But my god, what a beast. I mean, it's so realistic to drive. It's so fun drifting it around, especially on wet grass. But as with everything, it does have some weak spots, so let's have a look. Weak spot number one are the plastic drive hexes. So this one here, I've upgraded it to metal ones. Next weak spot are these arms here. I mean, they break relatively easily. You do one sort of bad landing like that, they can snap off. So I've upgraded these to the RPM ones, and I've not had any problems since. Next weak spot, there's a plastic drive shaft that goes from the centre transmission to the front diff. That's made of plastic, and it snaps off very easily, and it's a bit of a pig to replace. So I've replaced this with a GPM metal one. If I remember, I'm going to put a link to that down below. That is that problem gone. Next weak spot, and I wouldn't really call it a weak spot, are the front arms. I've broken a couple and I've hit it into a curb or something, so I've now replaced it with some RPM arms. But the RPM ones are worse. I mean, one little bump and the drive shafts keep popping out, so I'm going to be putting the stock arms back on. So not really a weak spot. I mean, they can break when you crash it. Rest of it, I would say, is pretty much perfect. And although they say this is not a basher, my god, it's taken a hiding. And next we have my Traxxas E-Revo 2.0. So I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship going on with this. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to work on. I've had a lot of electrical problems with it. I've had the steering not working properly, and it just seems ever since I've had it, it's just the electrics just don't seem right. I've changed the ESC, I've changed the servos. Actually now I've gone for a single servo conversion. I've still got to take it out and fully test it. So hopefully now it's the problem solved. But the main issue what I really don't like about this car is that they put these rear tie rods on. On the front, you're fine because you've got the steering and you've got the servo saver to kind of absorb the impact. When manufacturers put these things on the rear, there's no give. It's solid mounted onto the chassis, and one bad hit, it can break them off very, very easily. And every time I took it out, they used to break off. So these are a massive, massive weak spot. I mean, the HPI Savage came with that sort of setup, and that was the biggest problem on that. They just kept breaking off. They were breaking the knuckles, they were breaking the links. It was just a nightmare. So I've actually modified this and put some hubs on the back that eliminates all these. But on this, it's not really possible. If you've got the older Evo, you can. RPM made a eliminator kit, but it doesn't fit on this. This is a 2.0. It's got different size shafts and bearings and all that stuff, so you can't fit them on. But I have upgraded these to the TRX 7075 T6 aluminium arms, and these are an upgrade for the version 1. And so far, touch wood, I've not broken any. So I'm going to get this car out again soon. I mean, I've got to put a new diff into it. But so far, weak spots on this, I would say definitely these links here, massive, massive weak spot. I have broken a couple of links on the bottom of the shocks, but not too much of a big deal. Overall, it's tough. It takes a beating. I mean, in stock form, it really does take a good beating. It's definitely in stock form, I would say, stronger than the Kraton. But I think once modified, the Kraton's definitely going to be stronger. Lastly, here we've got my Traxxas TRX-4. And my God, guys, does this thing take a beating? It's supposed to be a crawler. You're supposed to go slow. But I've had it on the BMX track. I've had it on 6S Lipo doing almost 50 mile an hour. I've had it on the skate park and jumped it like 20 foot on the air and crashed it and bashed it and abused it. And my God, guys, it takes it. The transmission takes it. The drive shafts takes it. Everything just takes the abuse that I chuck at it, and it is completely and utterly unreal. I mean, this thing's supposed to go slow, and for it to take more abuse than a lot of these dedicated bashers can take, it's just truly mind-blowing. So weaknesses-wise, out the box, I would say they come with a plastic servo arm, and they tend to strip off relatively easily. So then if you upgrade up to metal, then the stock servo dies. So, you know, if you're just going to use it for slow crawling, the stock setup is probably going to be alright. The next, I don't know if it's really a weakness, but sometimes these drive cups in here can break. And sometimes I've done a little jump and it's broken off, and other times I've been beating on it for months and months and months and months, and it's not broken at all. But, you know, that is possibly a little weak spot in there, and you can buy upgraded ones. So when these go again, I'm going to put the upgraded ones in. But other than that, I mean, I'm just over the moon. I can't believe how good and how capable, how well this thing can crawl. And the abuse that this thing can take is just unreal and mind-blowing. So there you have it. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe, smash the bell button to stay notified, thumbs down if you suck, and give us a note down in the comments what your opinions are. But be respectful to those that have a different opinion. Remember, these are just toy cars. We're all just big babies, and we're just out there to have fun. So as long as you think whatever you have, and you're happy with what we've, you know, if you're happy with what you have, that's all good. Let the next guy be happy with what he has, and then we can all have fun together. Alright, I'll see you over in another video in a minute. Want to make some extra cash so you can buy more toys, quit your job, go on more holidays, or maybe build a monster truck? I've got you covered. Check out my course in the description, and I'll show you how to make 100k profit a year.